The North Dakota Horse Expo is in town, and I'm learning how to sell the crowd like a Pegasus rider. With the rising cost of eggs, now is probably the best time than ever to own a chicken. And at Esther Acres, that's exactly what they're doing.
Pull off. You want to kind of keep your hand on the chest. You got to push a little bit harder and a little bit deeper. There you go.
Right now, I'm throwing a ring on a troll, and I'm gonna make sure to try some of the authentic foods before I go. It's training on ice rescue, which is something they try to do at least once a year. And behind me, they're at it again. First responders are normally the ones who come to our rescue when we need help. But recently, a South Dakota Highway Patrol trooper was the one in need after a semi-truck slammed into his patrol SUV. Behind me is a small plot combine, and researchers are harvesting spring wheat to measure the yield and quality of wheat. Placed about here.
Yep.
And then this one be placed, you said, down here. Today's health headlines: disconnecting half the brain to stop seizures. It sounds unthinkable, but as Dina Bear shows us, it's an actual procedure to help children with a rare form of epilepsy. If you want to see the Pegasus riders in action, then come out to the North Dakota Horse Expo. For KX News in Minot, I'm Lauren Davis. They believe in having full control in the quality of your food, from feeding to fork. Hey Joel, I'm at the North Dakota Heritage Center, and I'm here with Kelsey and Patrick. And we're going to talk about Tracy's Sanctuary House. I'm here at Harvest Fest at the Newtown Civic Center. There's everything from family fall photos to a community meal. Making sure your car is ready for the winter can mean anything from getting an oil change, having an emergency preparedness kit, a snow shovel, even making sure your heat is working. With the rising cost of eggs, now is probably the best time than ever to own a chicken. And at Esther Acres, that's exactly what they're doing. Esther's Acres has been around for more than 100 years. In 2020, it was brought out of retirement when Forrest and Desiree Carlson moved back to Glenburn and decided to buy chickens. They've been adding more animals since then.
We've grown our operation to include sheep and pigs, and yeah, it's all like direct to consumer.
According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, this current outbreak of avian flu is the worst in our country's history. And in North Dakota alone, nearly 240,000 birds have been affected. But Carlson says her flock was fine.
We didn't have any issues with it. During the summer, we have our chickens outside and we move them around. So they're always having good nutrition and access to the grass. So it really was never an issue or worry for us.
Currently, there are about 25 chickens on the farm, and how often each chicken lays an egg depends on the breed. And in the winter, the amount of eggs laid decreases.
We get about a dozen a day right now, and so we have about 7 dozen a week that we're delivering. We increased it by $1 because of the price of feed, actually, but we are, from what I've seen, less than what we can get them for in the store.
Carlson also says it's a benefit to be able to go outside and get eggs for free, rather than pay the high price that we're currently seeing.
It's nice knowing that we can just go into the backyard and grab some eggs and share with our neighborhood too. That's really special.
And in the summer, the farm will be running a CSA program, which stands for Community Supported Agriculture. Those who sign up will have a dozen eggs and fresh produce each week, and a whole chicken bi-weekly delivered to their door for 3 months. And in order to get ready for this, they're going to get 100 chicks for the farm.
Because we're going down, we decided, oh, it's a safe trip, we can double our order, so we will have plenty of eggs to serve a broader amount of people in the Minot area.
The Carlsons will be driving to Iowa to get the chicks, hatching and growing their business from there. For KX News in Glenburn, I'm Lauren Davis. Annually, there are 356,000 out-of-hospital cardiac arrests, with nearly 90% being fatal. This is equal to about 1,000 people per day, and it can affect people of all ages. One of the most important things is to know CPR.
CPR is cardiopulmonary resuscitation, and it is basically doing chest compressions and breathing for the patient.
CPR can be done as alternating chest compressions with mouth-to-mouth breaths, but an alternative is hands only.
Get that palm of the heel kind of on the sternum, there you go, and then you're going to interlock. Get yourself up over your patient and kind of use your shoulders and your arms to push down. Keep your arms locked. And you don't want to pull off, you want to kind of keep your hand on the chest. And you got to push a little bit harder and a little bit deeper. There you go.
Faye says it's important for people to know how to help in case something happens to someone you know, or even a stranger. And if you don't know how to do CPR, Trinity Health offers classes for CPR certifications.
We do what's called a heart saver, and that is for the general public, daycare providers, teachers, those types of people. We teach heart saver too. And then we also do BLS for healthcare providers.
If chest compressions aren't performed before help arrives, the person's chance of survival decreases by 11% per minute. Phased CPR is beneficial, but if an automated external defibrillator or AED device is on hand, it's better to use that or do both.
CPR in some occasions can restore a heartbeat, all right? But most of the time, to restore that heartbeat, we need to have that defibrillator to reset the heart and let it pick up its own heartbeat again.
And you don't need to be a professional to use the device. Once you turn it on, it speaks the instructions and you follow along. We pick these up, and as you were saying earlier, it has stickers for where it's located. So this one would be placed about here.
Yep.
And then this one would be placed, you said, down here. And then you make sure that it's firmly on the person.
And then we would start compressions again.
So then back to
Yep.
public access AEDs are located in airports, schools, and other public locations, while professional use AEDs are used by first responders. For KX News, I'm Lauren Davis. Meals on Wheels is a national program in virtually every community to address senior hunger and isolation. And the Minot Commission on Aging delivers meals to those over 60 in Minot and the surrounding areas.
Every day they come, whether it's rain or shine or whatever, or 38 below wind chill, they come and help us out every day, take care of our seniors, deliver meals, make sure that the seniors are doing well in their homes. It's a fantastic deal. Minot has some of the best volunteers in the state. They do it every day. They're a big help to us.
Volunteers spend their time delivering meals and speaking to meal recipients. And one volunteer even loved his work so much, he even works on staff for the Commission on Aging.
A few of the people that I know actually worked here, and they just asked if I was able to volunteer one time. And at the time I was working evenings, so I had days available, and so I started doing it. And later on, I started doing it with one of my friends, and we just kind of turned it into a day. We would come volunteer and deliver meals, then we'd go out for lunch afterwards, and it was a very easy way to give back to the community. It took about an hour at tops out of our day.
And the recipients are just as excited to see the volunteers as the volunteers are to deliver and talk with them.
I think it's special, and the ones that come always greet you. You feel good. I've become good friends with two of them who always spend about 10 or 15 minutes. They bring it to me, the last one, and then we visit, and we've become friends, and they're just great.
They are also excited for the meals as well. Maurice Foley says he's been getting the meals for 3 or 4 years now.
Oh God, they're great. I've never had a bad meal of all the menu comes. It's just great. And I have my sister-in-law gets them in Grand Forks, and they're not like our meals. Well, the ribs are awful high on the list, but they're all good.
And just from seeing the interactions between Hughes and the meal recipients, I can tell how Meals on Wheels brightens everyone's day. For KX News, I'm Lauren Davis. This ain't no joke. With Easter hopping around the corner, we've got double the fun in both the capital city and Magic City. There are 2 Easter egg hunts happening in Bismarck this Saturday, April Fool's Day. One of the hunts is happening at the Dakota Zoo from 1 to 3 and is open to anyone under the age of 12. And if animals aren't your thing, or if you want to have double the fun, there's also an egg hunt happening at the former governor's mansion. This hunt will go on from 3 to 4 in the afternoon, with playtime in the mansion's attic playroom from 1 to 4. And even though there won't be any grass to hide the eggs in, don't you worry. They will be cutting a maze through the snow on the mansion lawn to make the experience extra fun. And if you're tuning in from Minot, there's some weekend Easter events for you too, but they'll look a little different. The Minot YMCA is hosting an Easter egg hunt in the pool, also on April Fool's Day, between noon and 2. Spots for the Easter egg splash are limited though, so pre-registration is required. And if you'd rather be outdoors, there's also an event going on at the Roosevelt Park Zoo, this one on Sunday, April 2nd, from 11 to 2. There will be Easter candy for the kids, while they also get to learn more about the animals they're visiting. Honeybees are important to our country's agriculture, as well as to our nation's food crops. Since North Dakota is the #1 honey producer in the U.S., honeybees are even more special here. And keeping honeybees stress-free and healthy can in turn help our state's crops and honey production. According to beekeep.info, a honeybee colony should be looked at as a black box, into which energy in the form of pollen, nectar, and water flows, and is then converted into products like honey and beeswax. Anything reducing a beehive's production is deemed as stress. These stresses include bacteria, fungi, viruses, mites, other insects, spiders, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals. At the USDA, scientists are studying honeybee nutrition to find ways to build bee immunity within a hive.
One of the starting points in understanding honeybee health and the stresses that they're exposed to is to conduct very controlled laboratory cage studies where honeybees are exposed to these different stressors.
Cook says 2 ways you can minimize bee stress around your ranch and farm are 1, providing lots of flowers on your land, and 2, minimizing pesticides by following organic farming practices. The Theodore Roosevelt National Park has been a consistent struggle for the park, and supporters of the animals nationwide have been working to save them as they provide attraction and culture to our state's national park. But leading local tonight, new updates this week for the wild animals in the Badlands. The news comes from our state capitol after a resolution was proposed earlier this session. SCR 4014 is a concurrent resolution to modify the park's plan for the animals. And after passing in the House chamber and some minor language change, 4014 made its way to the Senate floor.
Senate concurrent resolution 4014. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Nay.
And the Senate passed the resolution unanimously. As park officials gather their environmental assessment for a final decision-making, supporters are hoping that the consideration of the state's leadership will be taken into account as well. Individuals with brain injuries need constant care 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And today, senators heard from those in support of a House concurrent resolution, which looks at continuing care for those with brain injuries. According to those in support of the resolution, brain injuries are considered a chronic condition requiring continuous care. This study would help develop a new system of care for patients with brain injuries in North Dakota. The study would also assist those who have suffered a brain injury because of an overdose.
Connect and free to recovery providers and implementing that screening and providing training for them on that fact that an overdose, particularly an overdose that has had that Narcan save or can lead to that oxygen deprivation and brain injury. I can think of off the top of my head at least 2 or 3 individuals that have had to go into long-term care because of an overdose brain injury from that.
The resolution will now go to the Senate for consideration. Honeybees are important to our country's agriculture as well as our nation's food crops. Since North Dakota is the #1 honey producer in the U.S., honeybees are even more special here. In today's Eye on Ag and Energy, how keeping honeybees stress-free and healthy can in turn help our state's crops and honey production.
Eye on Ag and Energy on KX is sponsored by Lignite Energy Council.
According to beekeep.info, a honeybee colony should be looked at as a black box into which energy in the form of pollen, nectar, and water flows and is then converted into products like honey and beeswax. Anything reducing a beehive's production is deemed as stress. These stresses include bacteria, fungi, viruses, mites, other insects, spiders, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals. At the USDA, scientists are studying honeybee nutrition to find ways to build bee immunity within a hive.
One of the starting points in understanding honeybee health and the stresses that they're exposed to is to conduct very controlled laboratory cage studies where honeybees are exposed to these different stressors.
Cook says 2 ways you can minimize bee stress around your ranch and farm are 1, providing lots of flowers on your land, and 2, minimizing pesticides by following organic farming practices. Coming up next on KX News at 6, find out what's been driving this crazy snow pattern in this week's Weather Wise. Plus, speaking of the weather, we'll also dip into the latter half of your workweek forecast in just a bit.